here? What makes you come here today? What are you looking to learn from this session in one word or two words in the chat box? Or even better, I still request you all to please switch on your videos and interact. You can just unmute yourself and speak out. Thank you, Anika. That's a good beginning that I have. I'm still looking forward to others also, if it's possible to switch on your videos. What makes you come here to? Why are you here? Anika, Sahil, Avantika, if you can just unmute and just speak out, what is your expectation so that I'll be able to have a better tune to that? You're able to unmute yourself?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
So the reason I'm here today is to get insights on how to proceed further from where I am and where I want to go.
Perfect. Sahil, Kanchan, go ahead. Kanchan? Yeah, Sahil or Anika, what is it that you're looking for in the session today? You can also respond in the chat boxes.
I think I'm looking forward to like a lesson that I can learn and hopefully carry with me so I can use it in my life. So yeah.
Perfect. Great, great. That's a good open-ended statement, I must say, Anika, because I'm not here for specifically for some exam training or some technical knowledge that I'm going to share. What I'm here is to talk about career as a whole. When you talk of a career and what you're looking forward to in your life, it's a much, much longer picture that we are going to look at, and not just at what you're pursuing at this point in time as an exam or as a specific thing that you're trying to pursue at this point in time. I'm looking at something which is next 20 years, because that's where, if you have that vision, that's when you'll open up avenues to actually looking at the long term and not just at one exam or 1 year or 1 year of schooling or college or specific results that you're looking for at this point in time. So that's the objective of the session. Very well said, Anika. So Ravi is saying, I'm looking for guidance about how I should progress in my academics. Again, let me share with you all, this is not about specifics of how, as an example, you can improve your mathematics or improve your memory or something like that. It's more to do with the general trend with regard to how you have to approach things. The session's objective is that, and as titled, let me begin with the presentation. Just for everyone's interest, let me tell you all that excuse me. Uh, if you want to, then please switch your screens to me looking at a bigger picture and rather than the presentation, because the presentation will have a little bit of a content. While if I'm very small at the corner of the screen, it will not feel like I'm talking to you. So if you can swap that, and as and when required, you can change that position back and forth. So with that, let me give me a second. I'll just set my screen right so that I can look at all of you all. Okay, perfect. So the idea behind this session is, simply put, what is it that people look forward to when you're talking of a career? And if you wish to become successful in building a career, what is it that you have to look forward to? The skills which are required to build a successful career, not just the short term 2 or 3 year goal that we're talking of, but a much, much longer term career that you have to build. Kanchan, can I request you to mute? Okay, I've just muted her. Okay. So the underlying idea behind this session is to keep it interactive and discuss about a lot of things that you actually, given your age, whatever your age is, 14, 15, 16, 18, given your age, a lot of people at your age have these doubts in their mind. How is it that I approach things? How is it that I should look at a certain parameter that I'm being judged at? Or how is it that I should go about my academics or building my skill set? So that's the ideal setup that I'm talking of when I'm talking of this session. Talking about that, when I began with 2020, I had a big plan. I had very big plans. But as they say, whenever you have plan, God has something else in store. And that's when everything changed. So what I have as a mantra for 2020, after 10 months of 2020, is simple. It's the fact that you have to reinvent yourself. What you had imagined at the start of 2020, or while you were passing through 2020, even before the COVID and all those things happened, we had a certain vision of where we want to go or what we want to do. But as the year has progressed, there are a lot of things where the doors have shut, the doors are closed, the opportunities have died down. But the fact that that's when you have to look at what is it that's opening up. We often end up looking at the closed doors and staring at the closed doors and all the opportunities which are lost, and not at the new avenues which have opened up. Frankly speaking, for me as a professional speaker, last 1 year has been a transformational journey from what I have done in the last 14 years. So last 14 years are on one side, and the last 1 year or these 10 months of in 2020 have been a radical change from the way I've approached my career. So that's been a change. If you had asked me at start of 2020 what was our mission, what are the plans, you would have heard of something different plan altogether. And now here I am talking to you in Hyderabad, you sitting in Pune. We are still interacting. That's how the world has changed. That's how I've seen the opportunity, and that's how I've reinvented myself to get ready for the world which is ahead of you. That's what I'm saying. For whatever plans you had, if you have failed, if you have moved or changed those opportunities, look at what new avenues have opened up. So, with that, let me set the agenda right for the session today. What is the problem? When you look at the Indian scenario, there are so many people who are looking for jobs, and especially now with the COVID situation, the economy being in a bad shape, there are a lot of people who are looking for jobs. Two things which are a reason for that. One, the market is bad, and as a result of which, there are lesser and lesser of job opportunities which are available. And the second, and the more important, and the more prevalent problem is the fact that the people who are graduating from the places that they are don't have the skill set which is required to succeed or build a successful career. I'm talking of skill sets. I'm not saying they are bad in their knowledge. I'm not saying they are bad in their degree certificate or the marks that they have on paper. The challenge is the skill set that they have. And today I'm going to share with you all 7 skill sets or 7 ideas which you have to think and work upon. If you work upon those things, you have a possibility, because I'm right now I'm talking of sharing the knowledge of these 7 skills. While talking about building these 7 skills, it's you who are going to build it, not me. I'm just going to give you awareness of it. So if you are able to take charge of these 7 skill sets and start working on building them, that's where the opportunities will be opening up for you, and there will be no dearth of opportunities, and the prospects of your career will be much, much better and higher going forward. Wherever you are, you could be in 8th class and you're preparing for something, or you could be in 12th class and preparing or already having decided something. So the challenge is, look at these statements. These are statements by not someone like me. These are people who are at significant positions, who are much bigger than what you and I are. They are people who have the knowledge. I've seen at the ground level what are the challenges. And if you look at those statements, Narayan Murthy, 80% of Indian youngsters are not trained for any job, not IT job, any job. 94% of Indian graduates not fit for hiring. They have the certificates, they have the stamp that they are literate, but still they're not fit for hiring. And one of the other factors at the ground level which talks about the numbers, this December that you're talking of is the last December, not now. It's talking about India's unemployment rising to 7.7% in December 2019. That was much before COVID. So you can imagine the numbers, how they have been, how they could have multifold increased as a result of COVID and all these things that you're seeing. So the problem is this: the challenge is not that jobs are not available. The bigger challenge is, are you ready? And that's where you should be looking for the answer. How is it that I can be ready and be prepared for the world ahead? Now, if you look off the knowledge, there are a lot of people who have good amount of degrees, good amount of skills which are talking of how they've been certified over it. Now, the biggest problem is, how can I get that knowledge? Today, if I ask you, who's the president of Zimbabwe? Anika, who's the president of Zimbabwe?
I don't know.
Chetan, you're on mute.
No, sir. Even I don't know.
Don't worry, neither do I know. The reason why I asked is that because if I have to find that answer, you can right now go to Google and click of a button, you become aware of who's the president of Zimbabwe. That's knowledge. But if I ask you, can you maybe ride a bicycle? If you don't know, can you ride a car? Can you go to Google and learn how to drive a car and just go out and sit in the car and drive it out? No, because that's a skill that we're talking of. Now, that's where the difference we have to understand between knowledge and skill. One of the biggest challenge our education system faces today is that there's a huge amount of gap between knowledge and the skill which it possesses. Now, here's the difference. When you talk of learning swimming, what I would just equate that to the reality at the ground level. What it is, it's like someone has read a book on swimming, and let me tell you, he has given an exam on how to swim by writing it in paper. That you have to move your hands like this, you have to keep your body afloat, you have to tap your legs. And then, if I ask you that you're certified in how to swim, can you jump into the water and swim? That's what we're talking of. The difference between knowledge of what the degrees people are acquiring and the difference between the skill set which is required to lead a life. That's what we are talking of. The difference between these two things is the challenge that we are facing. Because at the ground level, you are learning a lot of things, reading a lot of things, writing exams. If I ask you 2 years ago, some exam that you wrote, some subject that you learned, if I ask you a question of how to do that as a skill, or if I ask you, can you recall that and please share that answer with me? Will you be able to do that? It'll be much tough because what we have done, we have just mugged up that knowledge or had had a rote learning of that subject for that exam and we have cleared it off. That's where the problem is. But if I ask any of y'all, have you learned swimming? Any of y'all, can you respond? How many of y'all know swimming?
So me and my brother.
Sir, me.
Okay,
I know, but I've
wonderful.
not done it for such a long time. I'll have to take a refresher.
Still, if you have learnt it, like as an example, riding a bicycle or riding a two-wheeler, if I've not driven it for maybe 5 years or so, or if I've not jumped into water, I might not take the risk of doing it right away. But you will be at much relative ease to do it than from someone who's not learnt it at all. Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
The point that I'm trying to make here is when you're learning a skill, see the difference in the way you approach things. Today, even if you have not swam for the last 6 months, if you jump into the water, will you be able to swim or not?
Sir, I would be able to.
When did you learn?
Sir, I learned it when I was 6 years old. I haven't really.
Okay, still a long time ago. So it's okay. I won't be asking you. Anyone else who's learned it and he's not swam for in the last 6 months? Any one of you all?
Yes, hi, this is Ruchi. I know swimming. I haven't swam for say last 1 year, but I'm confident I'll be able to swim.
Now, what makes you think that you'll be able to swim?
Because I've done that earlier and I know. Because I've done that earlier, maybe stamina wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll be lagging behind stamina wise, but otherwise I can swim. I know that.
Still, you will be able to have a recall of what you have done, right? As a skill set of what is required to be done, you'll have a good recall. While the same thing, if I were to ask you about a subject for which you have written an exam 1 year back, where you have scored maybe 95%, without any preparation, if I give you that same question paper, will you be able to score 95% now?
No.
Now that's where we're talking of the difference between the knowledge that you're trying to add and the skill that you're trying to build. That's what we're talking of. The difference between the theory that I have to propose here with regard to the gap that we have. The difference between knowing and applying and delivering. That's what we have to build as a skill set. That's how you build a skill. You build a skill by first thing and foremost, you build awareness. Like in swimming, you didn't directly go into an 8-foot pool and jump into it and start doing something, right? The trainer also didn't do that to you. First, he asked you to catch hold of maybe the pipe which is there in the 4 feet pool and asked you to tap your feet move your hands, try to float, told you the rules of how the dynamics of swimming work, in the sense making you stand before you're getting into the water, that this is what you have to do. So that's a book knowledge that we need before getting into the water. Obviously you're not directly getting into the 8-foot pool, but that's where you got the knowledge. But only knowledge didn't teach you swimming. What taught you swimming was by applying that knowledge in a 4 feet pool. Why 4 feet pool and why not 8 feet pool? Because when you transcend from knowledge, which is knowing, to the application, there's a gap in it, because skill is developed from knowledge to doing, or the application part of it, by practicing and getting the hang of it, of how the dynamics in the real world work as a skill set. So this can be applicable to anything that you have learned. Talk of a simple example of walking as a child. Your mother would have held your hand while you were crawling to make you stand up. She helped you with the knowledge that you have to move your leg like this and like this and like this. But then, once she started leaving you, you fell down. You fell down, but then again you got up and you started walking again. That's how it is with building a skill set. Now that's whatever things that you're learning in the classrooms today, the approach that you need to have is, how is it that this knowledge that I'm gaining is applicable in the real world, and look at the dynamics of how you can apply that. So in science, in physics, in chemistry, why do we have those laboratory classes? Or why do we have experiments? Because that's what makes you visible in the real world, how these two chemical reactions are happening. And that's where you get a better understanding of that. For those who are not privileged enough to get those lab experiments, they still have that knowledge in the knowledge peripheral, while you will be having, once you do it in the physical world, in the real world, when you're seeing something happen, the recall value will be much, much better and longer. So when you're talking of learning a skill, remember one simple aspect, and that's where I told Chetanji also, with regard to exams. If I ask you, whosoever said yes, Ruchi, how long did you take to learn swimming? How long did you take to learn swimming?
I don't remember actually. I learned it long back.
Approx.
Maybe a few
whosoever
months.
learned it recently, approximately.
A few months. Maybe,
few months to learn swimming?
Yeah.
Ruchi, but I learned it in a matter of 3 days. Do you know that?
Oh, wow. I actually don't remember. It must be some 20, 25 years back. So
still, 3 days, you didn't learn it in 3 days, right?
That's for sure.
Now, that's what I'm saying. I was just joking. Don't worry, I didn't learn it in 3 days. I also took over 20 days. But the point that I'm trying to say is that some kids walk at the age of 11 months. Some kids don't walk until the age of 15 months, or even later, much later. The point that I'm trying to say is that each one's learning ability for different things in your life. It could be physics, it could be biology, it could be chemistry, it could be mathematics. Each one's orientation that they have towards a specific subject. Someone could be left-brained and have a strong orientation towards the logical part of it, while someone could have a creative brain and have an orientation towards the creative side of it or the art side of it. Now that's what I'm saying here. The point that I'm trying to drive here is, my point is, each one's learning ability for different subjects is different. But let me tell you, Ruchi, you learned swimming. Each one sitting over here learned walking, and you are experts at walking today. You could have learned it by 11 months, or you could have learned it by 20 months. But the point is, you did learn. Underlying point, you can learn anything. You can learn some things faster than others, some things slower than others, depending on the orientation that you have, depending on the interest that you have, depending on the environment that you are in. Make sure you understand this fact, that whenever and ever you fail in an exam or you get lesser marks, always remember what is the challenge. Never have a doubt that you cannot learn it. That's never a situation. I've seen crippled people with a lot of challenges, still getting up and learning whatever they strongly desire. With failures, with time lag, but yes, learning for sure. That's one thing that you can take it writing from me, that you can learn anything. And one mark or one certain lesser marks or a failure in a certain situation in one subject or challenges in certain subject where you're feeling it hard. You could be hard. Someone else could be doing it this with ease, but what you are a master at, they could be challenged in that subject. So the point is, you have to build yourself to understanding that you can learn anything. It could be faster or slower, and with a little help or all by yourself. The choices is something that you have to make. So Sahil also mentioned the fact that his friend taught him to swim in big pools in 1 to 2 weeks, but still not 3 days. Like I try to fake it. All I'm saying is we learn at different pace. Here, the difference is that once you're qualified, where you'll be getting a degree, as a lot of people are chasing today, you have to move on to being educated. That's where the difference between a literate who's aware and someone who can do things. A lot of people in the market are there who are able, who have a lot of awareness about how to do things, but they don't know at the ground level how to do things. And finally, the stage where you're talking of skill, you don't have to limit it just doing something. I play cricket. I play cricket well. There's a difference. I can play cricket while I'm trying to represent and challenge myself and grow and start representing my country for playing cricket. That's where you're talking of skill. That's where a lot of things come into play in building a skill set which is fine tuned and polished. Now, the biggest challenge is this. There's something called as the iceberg model, wherein it is often noted that only 15% of your technical knowledge which you have is the reason for your success. So all the hard work that you're doing in reading those books, adding to your technical knowledge and building that knowledge base that you have will contribute only 15% to your success rate. Now, what is the remaining 85%? That's what I call is a missing 85% skill set, which is the challenge that most of us have to face. Here again, I'm just talking of skill set, not building the knowledge about soft skills or life skills or technical skills. The missing 85% skills are where we are talking of the skills which are required to deliver on this technical knowledge. So if I know programming as an example, if I know a certain thing where I can deliver that, let me take an example of, I hope everyone is aware of cricket as an example. Now, bowling in the nets. I can bowl 6 Yorkers. I can blow the wicket in every ball that I'm bowling in 1 over. Now, the bigger challenge is what happens when there's a player standing in between there. Can I bowl those 6 Yorkers? Now, what happens when the other team requires only 4 runs in the last over and you are the one who's bowling? Can I bowl those 6 Yorkers? My team's final match, like yesterday, the IPL final, my team's destiny, whether it will win this tournament or not, is hung on my shoulders. Will I be able to bowl those 6 Yorkers or not? If you know the difference of what I'm trying to speak, you'll have understood what am I talking about when I'm talking of skill sets. When I'm talking about soft skills and life skills. You are the captain. As an example, you were Rohit Sharma or Kohli or Dhoni or whoever. You are giving a ball to someone who's going to bowl those 6 balls and you have only 6 runs to defend. How is it that you're going to say, or what is it that you're going to tell him before that 6 balls he's bowled? What is it that you're going to tell him? How is it that you're going to motivate him and drive him to give his best at that moment? Will you say, this is the time that you have? This is when you have to pay back all the trust that I have done? Or will you, like Dhoni says, go ahead, ball, I know you can do it. Now look at the difference in the way you're communicating. Look at the temperament when you have only 6 runs, or like Dhoni's batting, you have only 20 runs to chase. It's often said when Dhoni's on the batting and the other team has 20 runs to defend, the pressure is not on Dhoni. The pressure is still on the other team because it's Dhoni there. If you are the bowler who's bowling to Dhoni, what's your thought process? Now, when you talk of the skill which is there in the nets, I know how to bowl that Yorker. Look at how the performance varies in every moment and every situation and the context that you're facing. Now, same situation, last over 6 runs to give. In the previous over that, before that you have bowled and you have given 20 runs in that over. Can you bowl that over and still defend those 6 runs? Look at the thought process. So is it that technical skill of how to bowl that is important, or all these things which are there, which are surrounding, and how you are dealing with it, that's important? Now that is what we're talking of, building soft skills and life skills to build a successful career. When you're talking of, this is a skill set which is missing, because all our life we are in a cocoon. We are sitting in a closed environment where we don't know the real life challenges, the real life environment where all these things are going to come up, and still you have to deliver on those technical skills that you have learned. So if you're prepared for the entire 15 years, 20 years of your life in the academic world for only this 15%, what about the remaining 85%, which is going to blow your wicket once you're there in the real world? That's what we're talking of, is the required skill sets which are there. So with that, quickly, let me just, I hope everyone is clear. Any doubts anyone has? And up until now, please, so that we don't have to wait till the end to come back. Anyone?
No.
Perfect. I'm assuming Aryaman is representing all the people, and he said no for all of them together. Okay, let me move ahead. The reality is this: it's an inverted iceberg model. The real world, the entire academic world is focused so much on the technical world, where we are just learning about technical knowledge, adding more knowledge to our knowledge base and how things operate as a thought, not as doing. As a thought, how we are building our entire knowledge base is what the real world is operating on, and that is where the flaw is. That's where we are missing out on it. So as an example, simple thing, if you are in a traffic jam, if at one point in the jam there's a single lane, or like as an example here, there's a single lane which is operating, and there's another place where there's 6 lanes on a single highway, and if you were to work on solution, what would you be working on? Would you be working on or at the 6 lanes which are operating and try to expand that further, or will you be focusing on the one lane which is operating and which is the constraint as of now? What will you be working on to resolve that traffic jam? Anyone? Anyone?
Could you repeat?
If you're in a traffic jam wherein at a certain place the road is of 6 lane, and there's another place right ahead, a little ahead on that road, where the road is submerging or merging into a single lane. If you were to develop further, what would you develop? Would you develop this 6 lane which is there, or would you develop that one lane which is there?
Develop one lane.
Why? Why?
That is the bottleneck.
Exactly. That's the bottleneck. As often we say, if you look at a bottle, the limit of how fast the water can go out of the bottle is based on the neck of the bottle. If you put the neck of the bottle as very small, the flow of the water will be only that much. The real capacity of the water bottle and the water flowing out of the bottle will be constrained to the bottleneck which is there. And that's what we have to work around. Now, if you have understood what I've tried to say here with regard to the skill sets which are required, you will know where is it that you have to work while building your skill sets which are required going ahead. So don't just focus on the technical knowledge and the knowledge base that you have. Don't just work on adding on that. Like the 6th lane, don't work on adding the 7th lane there or 8th lane there. You will not succeed if you're not working on that constraint which is there, which is a single lane, of that single lane, which is the soft skills and life skills. Unless you're working on that, there's a high likelihood that despite all the degrees, despite all the knowledge, you will eventually face a roadblock in your career. So with that, let me talk about the 2 aspects where we are talking of soft skills and life skills. Broadly defining, I call soft skills as the world beyond you, the way you approach the world and the way you interact with the world. while life skills are something which is the world within you, the way you operate and manage your own self. So here I'll be sharing with you all 7 essential skills on how to build this soft skills and life skills which are required. And if you look at it, again, I'm telling you, at the end of this session, it won't be a case where you'll get out of the session and bombarding and completely a new person, new, completely aware or completely new person who will be get the results from right the next day. What I'm sharing with you is the knowledge of how the skills which are required are to be built. That is what I'm saying. So with that, let me go on to the first point of it. One and the very basic and the core skill which is required is the skill of communicating. One of the biggest challenge that people have is they assume that communication is about English. English is a language, communication is an art. Understand the difference. The more you work around communication as a language, you will understand you're limiting your creativity in which you can communicate with others. So I could be very good in Hindi, and if I'm able to communicate well in Hindi, that should do. Yeah, talking about opportunities which are required in the world that you are in, and if you feel that English is also required in the places that you want to be, you can focus on building that as well. But my focus is communication in the way we interact with the world. Communication is how we are interacting with the world. Every thought that you have, every idea that you have, everything that's in your mind, the way it is expressed to the world is through your communication skills. That's where each one of us are different, because the language in which we communicate, not just the language, in the style in which we communicate and the way we express to the world is very, very different. The point that we have to understand is it effective or not? Are you able to get the results which are required in the way you communicate, in the style of communication that you have? So at every point in time, we are communicating with others, sometimes explicitly sending across a message, and sometimes implicitly sending across a message. As an example, when I asked how many of y'all are okay, please switch on your cameras, let's make it interactive. How many of y'all did switch on your cameras? It isn't the case that all the 22 people sitting over here have bandwidth challenges, but still you were constrained, you were limited, you were holding back yourself from opening up and expressing yourself. And that is what we're talking of. How are you communicating from this at this point in time when I can just see one person who switched on the camera? What image that are you building about yourself with me? The same example as the ones who switched on their camera after request, a decent request that it will be better if you can communicate, interact. Those people switched it on. Now here, implicitly, you're communicating of what you think and how you think. So beyond the basic rules, communication is all an art. But for the rules of grammar, sentence formation, and the technical things which are there in communication in a language, the most important thing is communication is an art. You must have already heard about this story about a blind man who was sitting outside a railway station, and he was holding a card wherein it read, I am blind, please give me money. Some person saw this and felt, why not change something over here? He took a marker pen and rewrote something on that placard and left it with that person. While for many days, for many months, that person was able to get alms to the tune of around 100 or 150 for per day. That day, when this placard changed, at the end of the day, he had more than 800 rupees in his collection. And the simple question that he asked, because he was blind, he could not read. The next day, when the person came and he could recognize with a touch that this is the same person who changed my placard, he asked that person, what did you do to that placard? What did you write on that placard that I was blessed yesterday? That person noted, I didn't do much. I just said the same thing that you said, but in a little different way. I just wrote, the world is a beautiful place and you are blessed to be seeing it. I wish I could. That's the simple message that he changed. While he wrote, I am blind, please give me arms. The person who changed the placard change the narrative of the same message and put across a message in a different way, which touched people and made them think, made them feel humble about what their life is and what they're blessed with. And that's where it built in an emotion and it sent across the message to them. And that's where they felt happy and shared a rupee with that blind person. Now that's the power of communication. Just a twist in a message. It could be done much better, it could be done much worse. Grammatically, word, language, you have Sashi Tharoor who's beautiful in the usage of words. You have Sudha Murthy who's very simple in her usage of words. But the point is, both have their own recall power, both have their own impact. It's just that how are you choosing to make an impact with your communication? So that's number one skill that you have to build. So whatever you're learning today, not just about writing an exam, the way you're going to communicate that, the way you want to express that, make that count and make that creative because you are the person who are going to make that message in a creative way, not someone else telling you that you have to write this way or you have to write that way. There's no right or wrong, but for the rules which are there, which govern the language. Beyond that, it's purely an art. Communication is an art where you have to make a difference. The essence of speak up is look at the idea which is there and the way you're structuring it. And there's much more in communication that you come across. While we're limited here in this online space, you cannot see my body language, you cannot see my gestures, you cannot see my facial expressions much to the detail. While if I were to be there in Pune and standing in front of you right now, but still we can make a difference. Those are non-verbal cues in which you can get a message not just from what I'm saying, but from what you're getting as a non-verbal cue. The forms of communication, the confidence and ease in which you're expressing yourself. That's the core of communication, in which you have to be comfortable with who you are and what you're trying to express. So let me ask you all one simple question. We have 26 people in this room right now in this Zoom meeting. Ivan, how many people are there over here? How many minds operating over here?
26. I mean, unless
26?
someone has left the Zoom session on and gone somewhere else, it should be 26.
Okay. Okay, 26. Now here's the thing. Here's the twist of it. The communication that I talked about till now was about the way you are talking with the world, with the way you are interacting with the world. That's one mind that you're talking of. There's another mind. There's another mind which is talking within you. Till now, it's already been, let's say, like approximately 20-25 minutes that we have been talking. Every time I'm asking you something, every time I'm saying something, there's a question, there's a thought which is running in your mind. Is it? What's he saying? This isn't for me. Did he really learn in 3 minutes, 3 days? That swimming that he was talking of? Until I tried to prove it. These are questions that have been operating in your mind. Every time I'm asking, please respond.
Not really, actually, because
Yeah, go ahead.
Unless you learned it as a kid, like if you learned swimming as an adult and you already have a lot of experience with sports or whatever, it is possible to do it in 3 days.
Yeah. I'm just giving an example. I'm just giving an example, and what I'm trying to say here is, while I was asking, can you please respond? There were a lot of people among you who were about to press that unmute button or who were about to go to that chat box and respond. Then you thought, let me just listen. Let me just listen to what's happening. I don't want to participate. I don't want to be subjected to some thought or whether I'm good, bad, whatever you're thinking. At this point in time, there's so many things which are running in your mind, even while I'm speaking, even while you are in this Zoom session. That's how the mind operates. There's a one mind which is constantly, which is on the external front where you're talking of communication. There's another communication which is happening deep within you. Every time I'm asking a question, every time I'm putting across a thought, when I talked about that failure, you were thinking about your failure. The way you failed in certain exam or the way you got some less marks. You were constantly communicating with yourself. No, he said physics is tough or I can learn it easily. Can you prove it to me? Can you teach me physics? How many of you all had thoughts like this in your mind? Hey, Motivation is okay, but ground level reality, I know I'm not good at it. I can't do it. I can never do it. Did you get this thought in your mind? Now that's what we're talking of, the world within, where what we are talking to ourselves is also one of the most important communication skill that you have to develop, because that's a world within yourself. Every time you're going on to an exam or you're going to learn something, if you have a preconceived notion wherein you are saying to yourself, I can't do this, eventually, that's what's going to happen, because that's one talk that you have to start controlling. It could be a resultant of a few things, but eventually, unless you control and give positive affirmations within, it's not going to change. That's not going to change by anyone else externally. You have to do it yourself. So that's number one skill that you have to talk about: communication with the world and the communication that you're having within. Next, self-awareness. A lot of people are there. There's this famous dialogue in Three Idiots or many other situations that you actually come across, wherein they talk, they've done their engineering, then they're going on to do a banking job, and then they're quitting and becoming an author or becoming something which is completely different. The biggest problem that we have is we actually don't assess for ourselves what is it that's our strength, what is it that we are good at. I understand the pressures. Parents are doctors, you have to be a doctor. Parents are engineers or bankers. This is a good field to be in. We are experienced, we are knowledgeable, we know that this is only the right thing to do. I understand those are pressures which are there, but it's all about understanding what are you good at and then building that skill set. You need not be a rebel. It can always also be a fact where you're trying to build that skill which is your strength, which you feel is your strength. Maybe creative writing, maybe anything that you're trying to pursue. What is your skill and what's your strength? If you start proving your metal by building a skill, taking your own time out of things. I know, again, you would be thinking, already 16 hours a day I'm studying. Today I work for 18 hours and I still get or take out 1 hour for something that I love. That's something, if you love something, if you're passionate about something, and if you're able to give time to that for 1 hour, and if you can prove your commitment to that, I believe you can prove to a lot of people. A lot of people had their own doubts when I was beginning my career as a professional speaker. Not a much money making field, or unless you make it to a certain level, you'll not be earning a lot of things. But still, I had my job. Today I'm an entrepreneur. Alongside that, despite all those things which are making me my bread and butter, this is something that I'm passionate about and I still pursue that. That's the difference that we're talking of. Find your idea, find your strength and build that strength. And then eventually you'll be able to build that to a scale where you have to just find someone who can pay you for that. The market opportunity, unlike in the 19th century or 20th century, where the typical job profiles or the career opportunities, which were the banker, teacher, doctor, engineer, or a government job, the world has changed today. The world is changing every day. Today, it's not limited to one specific sphere or one specific parallel of certain knowledge base that is there. Today, there are so many opportunities in every niche that you can develop and make a mark for yourself and build a career for yourself. That's what I want to try to tell you. Start doing what you love. Not just that, maybe that may not be earning you a bread and butter or building your career right now. But if you can, then start doing what you love. Don't make that a scapegoat for someone else's thoughts or someone else's pressure, or make that a scapegoat for your own excuses. Find that 15 minutes, find that half an hour, find that 1 hour, however possible, and start working on building what you truly love. And obviously, there will be times where you also have to work for building your bread and butter. That's what I'm doing. As an entrepreneur, I'm working for my bread and butter, and this is something that I love, and this is what I'm doing day in and day out, taking out that half an hour, 1 hour every day, despite any hiccup that I have elsewhere. So that's what we are saying. If why I asked you that, why I say that to you, because today when you're young, there was a simple activity that was done. I can't do that here in the online session, but a beautiful singer was asked to sing a song that she loves. And then she sang that beautifully. Everyone loved it. And then she was given a earpiece, the headphones, and excuse me, and she was being played the karaoke of some other song, and she was asked to sing that same song which she sang again. And when she was asked to do that, she miserably failed. She miserably failed because the voice which was there within her, the voice which was there within her was singing a different tune altogether while what she was expressing to the world. You could be someone with an exceptional skill on something which you love. If you skip that, that voice will keep resonating within you forever and ever if you are able to if you skip that and pursue something for the sake of it. For your bread and butter, I agree. But if you skip that, if you ignore that, if you leave it apart completely, that's where the real challenge is. I've seen umpteen number of people who are passionate about something which is very different from what they're doing, and they're not able to give time to something that they love. And I for sure know that if they were doing what they truly loved, they could be in a different sphere, in a different landscape altogether in what their career is. That's what I'm saying. Know what you love, understand what your strength is, build that scratch by scratch, and obviously take care of your responsibilities and the things that you also have to do. You might be asking, where did I or what did I do? My journey began as a speaker in the year 2005 when I was a student. I had my passion. I did exceptionally well when I began. But then obviously I had my responsibilities. I had to earn my bread and butter. That's where I worked for 5 years in a corporate job. Even while I was working there, I took out time on Saturdays and Sundays to make sure I'm not losing the sync that I have with this passion that I have. Post that I joined our business. And if anyone of you are in business, you'll know if any of your families are in business. You know the kind of strain and the constraints that they have and the time commitments which are required in business. It's been 7 years that I've been into this jewelry business as a full time. And still, even today, I'm able to take out time for something that I love. This is what I'm doing. That's what I'm saying. Never give up or let go of the things that you love. Moving on to the next. Today, what you're learning in the classroom, one of the biggest thing that you have to understand is that what I learned in classrooms 12 years back is literally nothing of what I'm doing today. Because what you learn in the books, what you learn in the classrooms today, the situation is such that it's getting outdated in a matter of 5 to 6 years. So what you're reading in a book today as a theory with regard to any specific technology and all those things, not that you don't have to learn, you have to learn that. But always remember the important skill that you have to develop is to learn the art of learning. Learning to learn. Whenever you have come up with different opportunities, something new, do you fear that I can't do this? I can't learn this. Or do you get excited that this is something that I can learn something new? That's what we are talking of a difference. As they say, today you're being given a fish, but what you really need is to learn how to fish. What are you doing or what are you focusing on? While it's important to learn all the things that are coming, what are the environment? Today we talk of the different things, artificial intelligence, digital marketing, all those things. Frankly speaking, there was literally not a name of it while I was studying way back 12 years. That's how the reality and world is changing. So what you're learning today, what is the new technology and all the things which are happening around today, whatever you're learning, learn it, but understand that you have to learn the art of learning, not just that one specific textbook or learning thing that you're doing right now. You have to learn the art of learning this, and that's where things will change, because that is the skill which is required, the skill of an ability to get excited to learn something new, to get into new avenues, to get into places which don't have answers, where you're exploring things. So the idea is to not get out of one place, to leaving that space with that I know. Corporates today are looking for people not with a knowledge base. They're looking for people who have the ability to express and take the challenge and are willing to learn. That's what corporates in careers are looking for today. So for anyone who's looking to build a long career, always remember you won't have all the answers. You won't have all the knowledge which is required in your first job, in your second job, in your last job, because every job will give you an opportunity to learn something new and grow from there. Any questions anyone has till now? Any questions? Because I can't see
No, sir.
anyone respond. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay. So next thing and other important thing is today the world is not run on isolation. You could have individual talent which is exceptional, but the challenge is the world isn't running on one man show today. If you want to scale up, if you want to reach places, the most important thing that you have to do is to be a team person. If I ask you, if in your school, in your college, wherever you are going, who do you sit with as soon as you enter the classroom? If you don't have fixed places, obviously, who do you look to sit with? Are you looking to sit with someone whom you already know,
Only with
whom you're
sir,
already,
only with my friend.
yeah, only with your friends? And who are those friends, if I may ask?
Sir,
Could be your schoolmates or, yeah.
like one of them is, I think, in this meeting, and many of my other students. It's a very big bunch.
Okay. So the reason why I'm asking that is because every time every time you actually go and interact with people, the human tendency, I'm not saying anything is wrong with anyone here, the human tendency is to find something which is homogeneous. You find someone whom you can connect with. You find someone who you relate to in different sphere. Most common, gender. A lot of girls go and interact with girls only, or a lot of boys sit together. Or as an example, you have someone of a certain community or certain religion or certain school. You always try to find what is common among people whom you wish to go and associate yourself with. That is where the biggest challenge is. When you're stuck in the common spaces, the opportunity to learn is very limited. And that's what we need to understand, that every time you limit yourself to something which is known, you are limiting your opportunity to grow your knowledge, to grow your awareness. You could be having differences, but unless you interact, unless you know more people, know them much deeper, how will you get to know what is it that's different? How will you expand the horizons of your thought? So here, let me share with you, most of you all might be knowing the story of Heron Tortoise. Let me just reiterate the 2020 version of it. That's what beautifully I call the 21st century version of Heron Tortoise story. Like you all must have already known the first and foremost. What was the learning from the first story so that I don't have to repeat it? Can anyone share?
So basically,
Anyone
Slow
there?
and steady wins the race.
Okay, Ruchi, thank you for that. So the beautiful story which we have been hearing for ages from you in your childhood and me from my childhood over 30 years back is the story that the hare and tortoise have a race. The hare goes till the end of the race and feels tired and takes a nap and he just dozes off, and the tortoise goes ahead and clears the race before the hare wakes up and realizes that he's lost the race. Now let me all ask you, the hare, disappointed and dejected, what and how did the tortoise beat me? He decided and asked the tortoise for another race. Now, in this race, who do you think won? Who do you think won the second race? Ruchi? Ivan? Sahil?
what did you mean by second race? I didn't really hear that
The
part.
hare and tortoise, after this loss of hare asked the tortoise for another race. And he just
Okay.
asked him, let's have another race. Now, who do you think would have won the second race?
The hare would win because he wouldn't feel arrogant this time. He just run straight for the finish line.
Wonderful. So you can win on someone else's weakness. You can win on someone else's weakness or mistakes once, but you cannot win it consistently. But that's the story that we have been living with, because that was a story that was relevant for 20th century, wherein slow and steady, you look at how the banking operations were, how the railways were, or how every industry operated. The simple mantra was slow and steady. That made them click, and that made them grow for that generation, for that time. That was right. I don't say it's wrong. While the focus here in fluent study is still that don't make errors. That's a good learning. I'm not saying it's wrong. But all I'm saying is that isn't enough, because right now in the 21st century, in 2020, the need is not someone who's fluent study. The need is someone who can be error free, but still we need someone who's fast and consistent. That's the mantra that we have to live with in the 21st century. Because that's where, if you say I'm slow and steady and you go and put that as a skill set or your strength on your resume, I'm sure it won't be even shortlisted. Now that brings me to the next story. The tortoise dejected that is it that I'm so bad that I can never win with the hare, called in for another race. He wanted to challenge himself. He called in for another race, and that's where he said, "This time I'll choose the path on which we'll be going it in the race." So the hare said, "It's okay. I know what I'm capable of, and let me go ahead with it." And that's where they started the race. The hare, with its speed, with its learned lesson of not having any arrogance, not having to stop, began the race, went ahead, and rushed to a certain point where it had to stop, because the racetrack this time had a river in between which had to be crossed. And like most of you all would know, the hare cannot swim. The tortoise, with its own pace, came up until the river bank, jumped into the water, swam across, and then finished the race. So, what do you think happened this time around? Ruchi, Sahil, what was it that was different in this race that made the tortoise win?
The first race, right?
Anyone? The third race, wherein we are
The
talking of
third.
the path was changed.
Okay.
We had a river in between, in the path of the race. We had a river, and that's where
Oh, because the
the
tortoise knows
tortoise
how to
won.
swim, right? He
So
knows how to swim.
it
Yeah.
knew, it knows how to swim. It knew what its strength was. It knew what its capabilities were. And that's where the most important thing is, while it's good to be fast and consistent, it's much more important to know what is your USP, what is your strength. And that's when you can navigate the racetrack to where your strength is. And that is where you can grow. That is where you can move ahead towards your prospective chances of winning are much higher. You could be weak somewhere. Like it's often said, Albert Einstein says it. If you compare a fish with its ability to climb a tree or a monkey in its ability to swim, they'll always fail. They will always be disappointed that they cannot do something in their life. But the reality is, you always have to find what your strength is and make sure you're navigating your career into that front and build that in a way where you are going to win. Because if you're just listening to someone else and just pursuing what they think or what your friends are doing as a trend and pursue that, always remember you will accomplish something. I'm not saying you will fail. All I'm saying is you could have been much, much better than where you are at this point in time. And finally, in this three races, the hare and tortoise became friends. And what they decided is that let's not fight with each other. Let's try to set our game up. Let's try to benchmark ourselves of how much time are we taking and how fast can we actually accomplish this path which is there. While we're not competing with each other, let's challenge ourselves that today, if tortoise as a tortoise, you did that race, despite your slow speed, you did that race in 1 hour, and I at least came to the bank of the river in a matter of 3 minutes. What can we do to make each of us winners? And that's where they built a race on the same path where there's a riverbank, and they started to race. Wherein, at the start, the hare took the tortoise on its back and ran till the riverbank. And at the riverbank, the tortoise took the hare on its back and finished the race. In this, they were both winners in their limitations, in their positives and strengths. and they could accomplish much, much more than what they began the story with. In this way, for a change, the hare isn't made a fool, but it has had a happy ending wherein both these hare and tortoise can live in the same world and can still emerge as winners, and not one being lost and one being winning it. So the idea that I'm trying to share here is you need to collaborate with people. When you see someone who's good at physics, who's good at mathematics, and you are bad at mathematics and you are strong at some other subject, collaborate with those people. Collaborate, and both of you all can build a win-win situation. That is what you have to look at. That's how you will grow and others will grow as well. The biggest challenge that we face often is that I'm good at mathematics, but I don't want to share how someone else can be good at mathematics. Or I'm bad at physics, but I need help. I need to learn from someone, but I don't want to share something that I am good at. And that's where we both become losers in our own dimensions. We, at the end, it's a situation of lose lose. So let there be friction, let there be challenges. The more you expose yourself to more number of heterogeneous people, more people you don't know, or more people that are different from you, the more you interact and build that rapport, the more you get a chance to live and learn and win eventually. And a simple follow mantra that I follow, you're still not in the jobs, but there's a simple mantra that I follow is to have my lunch wherever possible with someone whom I don't know. That's where I get an opportunity to know them a little better. Heterogeneous in any way, gender, caste, religion, experience. Today I sit with my 6-year-old son and have my dinner, and I also sit with my 78-year-old grandfather and have lunch. Today, I sit with someone else who's of a different community, different caste, different religion, and talk to them and interact with them and learn. That's what we can do here. So, with that, let me move on to the fifth skill, which is being self-driven. Let me all ask you, Anika, Avantika, Ivan. I'm going to have a small debate over here. Who else is there? Who else would like to participate in a debate? Can you please switch on your cameras or raise your hands? Who else is there? There's a small debate that I'm going to have. We have two people who have raised hands. Ranveer, Vansh, Tejas. You'll have to switch on your cameras. Can I request you for that? Okay. Now let me actually reveal the simple thing. We are not going to have a debate. Don't worry. We are not going to have a debate. The reason why I asked is when I asked you, let's have a debate. How many of you all thought, let me take part in this? Let me give it a try. It's not a case where anyone.
I was okay with it. I was okay with it, but I didn't raise my hand because you already said
Perfect.
okay, you want
Perfect. I already said your name.
Yeah.
For the rest, ask yourself. For the rest, ask yourself, were you excited to come up and prepare or participate in this debate? Or were you just laid back and said that, no, let me just see what happens? Not that I'm judging you precisely or specifically that you don't want to learn, but the fact is, nobody else knew the topic. Nobody had much or any other awareness about the topic or what I'm going to do. And still, like Ivan said, was anyways going to participate. What made you stop there? What made you stop? Why didn't you raise your hand? Now, the question why I'm asking that is today, when you're in your classrooms, when you are in a constrained or controlled environment where people will be there to ask you, did you understand this? Did you learn this? They'll be concerned. They'll be concerned whether what are you getting it or what are you learning from this. So there will be concern when you're in an environment like this where people are bothered about your learning, your career, or your development. There will be a feedback. But once you get onto the real world, always remember there's nobody going to who's asked you. So I've had situation in my corporate career wherein a project was opened up and there were 200 people and there were only 10 people who took up that opportunity to take that project beyond the work that they had. And today, after 10 years, those 10 people are the ones who have progressed in that company, because they had that initiative, they had that drive that I want to do, I want to learn more, I want to push myself. In the school, the teacher might ask you, please, you stand up and say. In the real world, nobody else will ask you. They'll be asking you only when they want to point fingers at you of how bad you've done things. They'll be never asking you that, would you like to take this opportunity? That's how the real world is. So the most important thing is, the thing that you need to understand as a skill is to be self-driven. You have to be selfish for that. That this is an opportunity that I'm getting, and this is the best that I can do. And why do we not take opportunities, or why do we stop or resist ourselves from initiating? Because we are unaware. You could be, a lot of people here might have had that fear that, okay, I don't know the topic. Will I be able to speak? Will I have the knowledge of the topic that he's going to give? Or how will others judge me when I speak the way I speak? Will I fail? Will I murmur? Will I stop? Will I be blanking out? Will I black out when I have to say a certain thing? These are fears. These are real fears, I agree. These are fears that everyone goes through, even I did. I've had times where I've stood on stage, beginning with delivering a seminar, and right there, blackout. I don't know what to speak. My hands were shivering, my legs were quivering. I was not sure what I'm going to do next and how I'm going to do it. I've also had those situations. But today, if I'm able to comfortably or smoothly talk to you, it's because I took those chances. I took that stage whenever it was possible and kept trying and doing things. And that's where you eventually learn. For that, you have to be selfish to even fail, because only after you fail, you will get a chance to succeed. And wherever you start, the point is, wherever you start, you will fail. Initially, you will fail. You have to accept that as a part of the journey. And if you don't do it today, 10 years later, also, wherever you begin, 10 years later, also, wherever you begin, the rule is simple. You will fail first, and then you'll fail again, and then you'll start tasting success. So you take that opportunity or risk of those failures now, or you take that chance of being pushed into failures and take up those failures much later in life. Because the more you take up these opportunities, the more you initiate, the higher is the chance of getting success early in your life. So the simple thing is, our lives are built with a simple statement that I often make. Whenever I face a situation or something new which is I'm unaware, my question is not how can I with a question mark. The question is, how can I, with the open statement of what I can do to learn this? How can I do it? Let me try. Let me give it a shot. It's okay. However you respond, but if you have this attitude wherein you're willing to expose yourself, willing to take initiative and be selfish for your own long-term growth, you will eventually succeed in anything that you wish to. So I'll skip this here. And finally, coming to the last 2 points, if you are aware of the stories, if you're aware of the stories of Milka Singh, PT Usha, or Abhinav Bindra, you'll understand the difference. Here, Chetan Gandhi sir will agree with me. The difference between reaching to that 90 marks and reaching that 99 or 100 marks is what makes the entire difference. That is what makes the entire difference between someone being called successful or someone achieving success, because the margin between the ones who have come first or who have become successful and the ones who have lived a mediocre life is very, very small. The examples that I was talking of, PT Usha and Milka Singh, the race that they ran in their Olympic races, they lost the podium finish. They came fourth. They came fourth by a photo finish. A photo finish is where you do not have the seconds wherein you know the clear winner or the loser. They checked the photo finish or who came third and who came fourth. In both these cases, where you're talking of Abhinav Bindra and PT Usha, both these cases were they missed out on that podium finish. They missed out on the podium finish by 100th of a second. That's the detail or the margin of loss that they have. And that's where something that will stick to their minds forever, that they lost by 1/100th of a second. The same reverse example is of that of Abhinav Bindra in the 2010 Olympics where he won the gold. He didn't seal the gold by a big margin. At the end, on his last rifle shoot, he had to get a score of over 10.5 or 20.6 to seal that gold that he won. That's the detailing of all the hard work that he had since the last 4 years before the Olympics, during the Olympic race, till the final. On that last shot, everything boiled down to that one shot. If he were to get over that 10.6 mark, he would have won the gold or he would have lost the gold. That's the kind of a margin that we're talking of. And that kind of a margin, the appreciation comes by constantly benchmarking yourself to keep growing from wherever you are. So I'm not just talking of the marks that you're getting. I'm talking of the learning that you have. Every time, whatever you're learning, even if you're getting a setback or a failure in a certain way in which you're missing out on some logics, missing out on some learning, then you go back and always look at what is it that I can improve? Where is it that I've gone wrong? What's the logic behind which I can work around and build myself? That is what we're talking of. You constantly have to benchmark yourself to the next level, and that's where you will grow. Once you keep growing a little by little, and that's where you win or you become the pinnacle of success eventually. So I always talk of this equation. I believe many of you all might have heard this equation. When you grow by 1%, just 1% every day, when you grow by 1% every day, at the end of the year, do you know that you're 37 times better than what you are today? That's the power of just 1% improvement every day. So you talk of qualitatively or quantitatively, look at how are you growing on a day-to-day basis. So if someone, any one of you all go for some sports or someone goes for gymming or anything, the idea is not to just keep doing what you're doing. Your body will get comfortable in doing that. The idea is to keep challenging to the next level. That's where you grow. And that's where you challenge yourself and you get that momentum to keep growing every day. So you have to grow not by a transformational change every day. You have to grow by a little, little. 1% is little, and that's how you have to grow on a daily basis to become much, much better than where you are today. And that's how you have to approach all your things where you're looking to grow. You have to approach all your things which you're looking to grow in a way where you're able to look at the growth, look at the development on a day-to-day basis, and make sure that you're growing. That is all that is required. So the difference, the pursuit of excellence is what differentiates the people who are living more mediocre lives and the ones who are able to achieve pinnacle or achieve greatness in their life. Finally, and the last point that I would like to share is that we all have been taught that success is beautiful, success is good, and each one of us must face success. But the reality of the real world is that you will face failures. You will face failures day in and day out in different things that you're pursuing. But the point is there. In those failures, you have to look at what your learnings are. So whosoever your idol is, Avantika, Anika, Ivan, Chetan sir, who's your idol? Who do you look up to?
I actually look up to different people for different fields.
Anyone,
So,
anyone.
like I play the guitar, so for that my idol is Jimi Hendrix.
Okay. Avantika?
So I look up to so I love music and I like to sing. So I look up to one a very famous singer or a famous rapper, and so from their life, what the hardships they've faced, I try to navigate through my own using the lessons they've learned and I learned.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anika, Chetan sir?
Honestly, I don't really look up to anyone. So yeah,
That's okay. No issues. There's no hardcore
like
rule
it
that you
sounds
have to.
weird, but yeah, like
No,
near
that's okay.
sociopathic.
It need not be looking up to specifically someone. It could be admiring that this person, this is something that I would like to be, or this is something that I would like to learn, Oh, the idea was that.
s-
So why I asked you those heroes was anyone was saying something? I'm sorry.
yes, sir.
Yeah, Ramit.
I idolize artists and those people who have like struggled a long way to get to where they are.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Like
Thank you for that, Ravit. I
example,
was looking
there's
forward to
this
that
musician.
answer. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah, Ravit.
Nothing,
Okay.
sir. Nothing, sir.
Okay, perfect. I was looking forward to that answer. Why I asked you is that because whosoever you look up to, I actually want you to go back and see if you have any autobiography of that person or the story of that person, he himself narrating it. That's when you actually know that every person who you look up to or the skill that he has possessed or the skill that he has built or he has learned, when you look up to that person, always remember when you listen to their stories, the real stories. I'm not talking of the success stories which often we only limit ourselves to. When you look at the detailed real life stories of those people, you'll realize that everyone has had a painful journey, a journey through a different failure and different paths that they've gone through. That's what I beautifully like to call this. Everybody appreciates the beautiful butterfly, but do you know the process in which it comes out of that cocoon? It's one of the most painful journeys that the butterfly actually experiences in its entire life. Nobody appreciates that journey that they have gone through. Now, that is what I'm saying. You have to undergo the painful experience, undergo the pain of those setbacks, failures, and the pain of evolution. And that is where failure comes into part. And how you look at failures, how you look at that pain becomes very important. That's what will drive you in persisting through this pain will be your why. Your why has to be clear in your mind of why is it that you're doing, because this is where a lot of people who give up on failures is because they give it up at a time, and the reason for their giving it is because it's not their story. It's not that they're it's something that they're aspiring for. It's someone else's push, someone else said something, and that's why they're doing it. If your why is clear, you will be able to persist with all the pain and all the failures that you'll be coming across. And as I say, success is a beautiful experience. It's wonderful. I don't deny it. I don't deny that I'm looking forward to success. But the fact is, the failures are the ones which teach you the lessons which are required for you to become successful. It's the failures. The failures are the ones which are giving you lessons. Today, if I'm doing this wonderfully well, I won't be looking back at this session and breaking it down. But if I fumble, if I make errors, if I make some flaws or make some mistakes during the session, and I feel I've not done it well, I've failed, I'll surely go back and see why I've failed. What is it that made me fumble there? What is it that made me make that mistake? And that is where, because of failure, I'll come back to the drawing board to understand what is it that I can do to make it better, to remove those flaws, make myself better by learning from all those experiences. And that's what I say. You have to redirect your energies to not just looking back. We often stare back that I failed. We often look at the marks which are there behind us of the places that we have failed and we have had setbacks. I always say, look back because that's where you get the learning. But, but don't stay back. The more you fail, the more likely is it that you're going to succeed. So the simple mantra is fail fast, fail often. For you to succeed fast and succeed often, you have to change that mantra and start doing it faster. You have to hustle in the things that you're doing. Vansh, go ahead. Okay. So with that, I open this session for Q&A. Anyone has any questions or any doubts, or if you'd like to ask me anything, feel free to ask. I'm here to answer.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Anika. 1 minute. I'll
Who's
just close the
your
screen share.
role model? Yeah, who's your role
Uh,
model?
like Ivan said, I think I look up to many people for different facets. But to me personally, I would say if I, there are few people that I look up to. One is Abdul Kalam. There's if you ask me, often people ask me, is it Virat Kohli or Rahul Dravid? Given the kind of nature and the kind of calmness, I would look at Rahul Dravid maybe. I look at in the business perspective, I look at Warren Buffett. There are people in different areas who teach us, but there's something which connects me with these three people because of not just what they have done professionally well in their field of work, but also of who they are as a human being. That's what I feel, irrespective of whatever we do, whatever we become, eventually it will boil down to who you are as a human being, not just on the field of work that you represent. Today, when people look at Sachin Tendulkar or anyone, they don't just look at that he's batted well, he's had a good career. They also look at the fact that he's a good human being. That's what makes the difference. I think I would look at it in that way, and I would always look at people and their soul to understand whether I love them or not. Because there are a lot of people who are successful, but still, I would still take a tidbits from here and there from their journey, but not who they are as a human being. Thank you, Anika, for asking that.
Okay, you're welcome.
Anyone else? Any question? Chetan sir, anything else? I hope, Anika, as you said at the beginning, I hope there were inputs that I've shared which
Yeah,
were not
yeah.
specific to some specific, but I hope it has given you a kind of a direction towards the things that you have to look up to, and the way you have to focus on the things which are required rather than being in a kind of a rat race. I would say that most often each one of us, equally me, have fallen down to.
Hmm. Yeah, it has. Thank you.
Anyone else? Even if you're not switching on your cameras, you can just ask me your questions. Chetanji, you're on mute. Um, Chetanji, should I assume it's we are done? If you're done, then I would leave with two things. One, I've just shared in the Zoom chat box a feedback link wherein you can share your comments, good, bad, whatever you loved about the session, where things you think it could be a little different or it could be a little better. Do share your comments in that feedback link. And second, uh, there's another link which I'm sharing. One second. Can you just, for all the people who have not able to share or open your videos and have not been had a chance to interact with you, even I would be looking at your feedback, listen to your perspective of what you've learned from the session and any feedback that you have for me.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Actually, some of you may relate to this. Some of us may relate to this. Actually, life has become a machine. If for me, in a profession, life has become a machine. Even students, they are busy in study. And this environment of Corona, they are not able to contact with the friends. So just limited to your profession and family. So how to deal with this? Missing your friends,
Uh,
friend circle.
yeah, one thing that I would say is that if your work has got you so occupied that it doesn't leave room for uh, things that you would love to do, I would only say that you'll have to just plan a little better with regard to making sure you have that space in your calendar for things that you love. Because it's often that we, in the process of this rut that we have, every day, day in and day out, morning you get up, by the time you sleep, it's just another day passing out, another little one day passing out, and week passing out, month passing out. The way time runs away, we are often not in control of it. So that's where I think what we have to start doing is that for things that we love, because I personally I know there are days when I don't get a minute of a time, and there's still days where I make sure I don't have to put it in a calendar as such, but I make sure that I have time for my family, or to make that call to that long lost friend who I've not been in touch or not been interacting with for a long time. I make sure I have that something like a weekly off. You can say Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, I don't do anything. And I make sure I commit this with my family as well. I make sure I give my time to my family. I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter, 6-year-old son and a 2-year daughter. So I know this is a time that I have to run in my life professionally, but this is also a time which I'm not going to get back from them. Maybe another 4 years, 5 years down the lane, like you all are sitting here right now. Because it's COVID, you are at home. But frankly speaking, had it not been COVID, you would not be meeting your family, or you'd be in so much of a rush doing so many things that you don't get to spend half an hour or 1 hour with your family like you would have done maybe 4 years, 5 years ago. So personally, I make sure the things which are important to me, I make time for them, because later on, when I am a choice, when I become a choice, I won't be left with a choice. I have to make sure I commit myself to being connected with things that matter. Equally, I'm doing this thing which I'm passionate about, this seminars that I'm doing. I could think, let me work till 40, earn all the money, and then come and talk to you. I could give the excuse of being busy or not having time, business, family, kids. There's so much already. But I could, if I don't make time for things that matter today, be sure it'll all be lost and gone in a matter of time. So you have to make sure you get or make time for things that matter. I hope that answers to you, Shirangani sir. Um, okay. Someone, okay, they've sent a private chat to me, so I'm just responding. Someone just asked that we majorly waste our time on cell phones. That is being observed, and we only regret it once that time has passed. If you are stating this explicitly and having this as a thought process where you think you are wasting your time on cell phones, there are a lot of apps which have come up as a result of this very knack that we have of sticking on to phones and losing out on many other things which are important. You know they are important. There are apps which have come up which can regulate you, which can kind of police you. Nobody else can do that, which can police you, that your phone will be locked and it won't be open for a certain time. So as an example, if you give your commitment at night when you're sleeping, you want to make sure that morning as soon as you get up, you don't want to go onto that phone, and the first half an hour of your day you want to keep it to yourself or without phone. Set up that phone app wherein you're unable to unlock your phone. Whatever you do, unless you reset that app later on, whatever you do, set that app that morning my phone can be operated only after maybe 8:30, 9, or whatever timeline you set in. That's how you can bring in discipline for yourself. Forget about anyone else saying. If you have a realization that you're already regretting the time which has been lost, if you already have that regret which is strong enough, I believe this self discipline will help you with the help of technology. Like technology has ruined us to a large part, it has also helped us. I'm not saying it has ruined us completely, but like technology has ruined a large part of our lives, we can use the same technology to build our discipline. And that we can do by using apps like this, or having certain settings in your phone wherein you're constrained in
So,
how much time you're setting your time. Yeah, Ivan, go ahead.
so is there any specific app you would recommend? Because I don't really know of any apps like that.
Um, I have read across about these apps. Let me share it with Chetan sir, and he'll get back to you on this. Is that okay? I'll share those app details with Chetan sir. I've heard about such apps. I don't use it because to a large extent I'm a very hard-headed person. If I want to do, I will do. If I don't want to, then I know how to resist myself. That's how I am personally. But for your age, I understand. I'll be sharing that app or some details or apps like that, which can give you uh, a certain self-discipline. It'll help you. I'll share that thing, and Chetan sir can share that with you all in the WhatsApp group or something. I hope that helps. But again, I say the same thing. Despite all those apps, you have to resist yourself from not resetting that app, that okay, this app is not helpful for me. Build in your own discipline, that 1 hour or 2 hours of a day, or certain app you don't want to give so much of a time to it, you can limit or put those limits in that app, wherein the app will shut down or it won't open in a certain time frame or after certain time. So let me just do a little research and get back with those details and share that with Chetan sir. Just remind me, Chetan sir, just let me just follow up with me about this, and hopefully I'll be able to respond to that.
Yes.
Um, okay, I've got of the 22, 23 people, excluding me, I've got feedbacks from only 6 people. I'm looking forward to more feedbacks. Would love to
Yeah,
take a
I
person.
already gave.
Everyone, whosoever has not given the feedback, please share, because that's where I learn. Like I said, I love to learn and take back and see what I can do better to make sure that next time I'm doing a program somewhere like this, I want all the 20 cameras on. Why is it that you're not switching on your cameras? Why is it that you're not opening up or interacting? Because this is something where COVID has taught me this thing, that we as humans were already distant enough, we had distanced ourselves enough that with the option of maybe unmuting or keeping yourself mute or keeping your video off, unless obviously you have bandwidth challenges, we have distanced ourselves even more further. Now imagine for all the people who have not switched on their videos, if I were to keep my video like this and talk for the entire session, would you be able to listen to me for the last 1.5 hours? Look at how tough would that have been. And I've been doing that with only 3 or 4 faces for the last 1.5 hours. Now you can imagine the tough job that I'm in. And every time someone doesn't switch on the video, you have to consciously pay full attention to what someone is saying and listen to that. It's just been 30 seconds and I can already see smiling faces for the ones whose cameras are on. That's how tough this world is. It has opened up avenues. It has opened up avenues, but it has closed a lot of videos. And in that way, we are a little disconnected. Although I'm reaching out to someone in Pune today, I'm happy about that. But still, I'm at your laptop or phone screen, and still, I don't know who you are. I've traveled from Hyderabad to Pune for that. Except for those 5 people, I've still not seen the faces. Thank you, Sirishji. I'm happy that you switched on the video. I know we are in a world where we are at homes. We are not in a comfortable position, not prepared or dressed or shaven or whatever limitations that you have. But a suggestion to all those people who are here, I would like to click one photo if you can switch on your videos, and a suggestion for the next meeting, unless you have bandwidth challenges, please help the person who's speaking by at least showing your face, because that makes a heaven lot of a difference. Because that's where, when I'm looking, I know 6 months later, if I have to think of who I spoke to in this session, I would remember Ivan, I would remember Anika, I would remember Avantika. And now for a second, Sirish and Jay, is that your name? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm so happy. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mama.
Okay, I would like to take one. Sure, thank you. Can everyone switch on the videos? I'll just like to take one photo and then we'll just close it. Everyone, please. Okay, okay. Had this been a real class where I was standing in front of you, I would have taken names. I would have pointed you and I would have asked you. You wouldn't have loved that. But just for this last 1 minute of the last 1.5 hour session that we have had, if you have had any learnings, if you have had some fun, if you have had something to take back, switch on your cameras. I would just like to take one pic and we'll close it there. Okay, I'm just waiting still. I'm waiting. I don't want to take names. Okay, wonderful. Let me take the photo there. Sirishi. Okay, just a minute. Okay, one. Okay. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure talking to all your names, but for the 4 people. If possible, just a small suggestion. Next time, whenever you're attending, please switch on your cameras so that people can talk to people. We are already not able to meet. let's not disconnect and live with just the digital names that we have. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure meeting you all.
Thank
Chetan,
you,
sir,
Rahul.
anything from
Thank
you?
you, sir.
Shirish
Thank
here.
you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Apologies for that.
That's okay. That's okay. No apologies.
Actually,
I'm just
I was traveling from hometown to Pune, so just now I joined this class 5 minutes before.
no. I don't have any hard feelings for anyone. All I'm saying is that just a suggestion, because there's so much of an effort which goes into delivering a speech, and especially when we're delivering to just names, it becomes a lot tougher. So in that sense, I'm just saying a suggestion that if it's possible, you can switch on your videos and interact. Okay, interaction is something that is a personal choice. I would like to say, I don't want to say something. That's a personal choice that I make. But I would like to say that it's just that it's the least that we can do when someone is going out of the box and trying to make a difference. With that, Chetan sir, can we close the session?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I've got the feedback from 12 people. If anyone is still left, you can use that. And yeah, I forgot to mention that there's a link that I've shared in the chat box, which is linktree.ee/I am living life. In that link, you can find the links to all my social media handles, the Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. I post a lot of videos and our thoughts, living life thoughts, which are there on these channels. Do subscribe and like and see if you love any video. To get more of our thoughts and ideas. Do subscribe, will be really helpful for us. You can follow our work there. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Chetan, I'm closing the session now.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Chetan. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Chetan sir, once I close the session, it will save the recording for you.
Yes, sir.
So once the recording is, it will take a little time, I think, because it's a 1 hour 45-minute session. You can see how you can transfer that or share a link where I can download that.
Yes, sir.
And I'll check out with my recording as well if there's any mix that we can do, or see the quality of how we have got it, and accordingly use which one we want. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes.